Hi there foodies, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe to be notified of future videos. Hi, my name is Nadine. We made these lovely tartlets in part 1 and now in part 2 we're starting to make a lovely chocolate ganache tartlet. It's very easy to make and you will not regret, it is so yummy. Now we're starting with our part 2, which is our chocolate ganache, and for this you're going to need 125 ml of fresh cream. And you are going to need 300 grams of chocolate. We are using a 37% chocolate, and ideally is you actually putting a bit of glucose in, but if you don't have glucose, just leave it out. That's more like if you want to do it very professional. Okay, so I'm going to start measuring out my cream. This has to boil while we're busy starting cutting our chocolate. This is actually Belgian chocolate, but you can use any other chocolate you like. You can even make it with darker chocolate. Just a little reminder, when you're using darker chocolate, you can increase your cream. If you're using a lighter chocolate, you're using less cream because it changes the density of the chocolate. Okay, my cream needs to get put into the pot. And you just put it on and bring it to the boil. So I'm just keeping an eye that my cream boils. So while this cream is doing that thing, we're gonna chop chocolate. So you could add as well 40 grams of glucose to this recipe. Glucose is something very sticky. I'm just actually gonna leave it out at this one. Right, so in the meanwhile, I'm chopping my chocolate. And we need 300 grams. It's very hard to cut, so you could buy as well chocolate discs where you don't have to cut them yourself. I'm an absolutely chocolate lover, so I have to hide the chocolate away from me because otherwise I would just eat them. My cream is coming to the boil. So you want to make sure it boils, otherwise your chocolate can go off very quickly. Don't let it overboil and switch it off just before that. I'm gonna let it stand now, and when my chocolate is finished cut, then we're gonna combine everything. My chocolate is finished cut. For me it's easier to work in a plastic bowl if I make a chocolate ganache. If this is not fine enough, you're gonna struggle to melt it. Traditionally, melting chocolate you do over water bath, but for ganache that's a better way to do it like this. So I'm using my boiled cream and I'm adding it slowly over my chocolate, not everything, and I'm mixing it. So the hot cream is going to melt my chocolate and this makes it a ganache. If you pour it too quickly over, it will split because of the oil is coming out of the chocolate. So when you get to this point of when it becomes glossy, that's when you add a little bit extra cream. I could have infused my cream to get it a different flavor. So this you would have done while you boil it up. For example, lavender, vanilla, orange zest, whatever floats your boat. So this one I would like to have very, very plain, because sometimes plain is the nicest. Okay, you can still see pieces, but the chocolate is nice and glossy. So now I'm going to add the rest. I haven't mentioned, but you see I'm using a rubber spatula, so that's the best to use for if you work with chocolate. So this has to be mixed now until it is completely melted. If you find at any point your mixture got too cold and you struggle that it will melt, you can still put it into a water bath. So I think I will do that because I don't want to work my arm too hard. So I'm going to put this back into that bowl. And I have already a pot here, and that pot has a little bit of water in. And when you do a water bath, it needs to be a bowl which is snug on top of the pot, but the water doesn't touch the base. And we're gonna heat this finishing up over our heat on the stove. You don't want this to boil, you just want it to heat it up. So when your water comes warm, you can switch it back off, and the warm steam will be enough to actually melt the chocolate. So that's gonna not take you longer than 2-3 minutes. My chocolate has nicely melted, so now I'm taking it off from my water bath and I'm pouring it into our tartlet cases. This bowl is a little bit hot, so let's grab a cloth not to burn. And you can see it's nice and shiny and smooth. So you can either pour it or use a spoon, whatever you're more comfortable with. I'm just going to pour this in. And you can see as well, it gets very, very quickly hot, so you don't want to let it stand. You have to pour this very quickly straight you're done into your cases. So I can see I didn't measure correctly, so I have to steal some for my others. Okay, and that is obviously to eat for. I love it, it's delicious. So these have to be put into the fridge for maybe an hour or two. I would maybe do this a day before if I know I have some friends over, and you could serve this as a dessert after your 3-course meal. Or you could just have this in the afternoon tea with some nice coffee. And yeah, so this is our lovely chocolate tartlets. Okay, so now I took my tartlets out of the fridge and they chilled, and now I can pop them out of their little tartlet cases. So the best is if you have a tartlet case which has a little base underneath, so it is easy to flop out. Otherwise you must just be very careful. And there is a little blade underneath as well. Make sure you don't serve this by accident. And we pop them out now here. I've got a beautiful plate where I can present them. Okay, so they look very plain, and you could still make them look a little bit more pretty. I've got a strawberry here, which I think will look nice. And you can pop this on, or you could just leave it plain. And a small piece of mint. So there is your own creativity, what you would like to put on. And voila, ready for your high tea. Thank you so much for watching this video, it really means a lot to me. Please let me know in the comments below how this recipe worked out for you. If you have any suggestions or anything what you would like to see in the future, please leave me a comment below. I'm happy to do this for you. Please subscribe to my channel to be notified of future videos.